Today we're at the shop. We're going to do a compression test on the 343. At the time of buying this vehicle, the owner or the buyer of the vehicle knew that the engine was in question. But if at any time you're going to be paying good money for a car, owner of the car at the time has nothing to hide, he would agree to have you take it to a shop where you could pay a mechanic to take it in and check the compression on each cylinder and know the condition of the engine, and the price of the car would go accordingly. He knew this vehicle was already blowing oil and stuff, so the price of the vehicle was less than if he bought a cherry car. At the time of testing this thing, he's already pre-warmed the engine so that everything's going to seal up as good as possible. Take out all the spark plugs, stick a screwdriver on the carburetor so it's getting a good gulp of air. He's going to crank it over 5 times for each cylinder, check the compression, then we might luck out and find out that just one cylinder is bad. This is how you can detect the problem. When we're taking the spark plugs out, a good indicator is just if you see one spark plug that's really oily, then there's got to be rings that are bad that are just blowing right past and they're going to follow the plug. Or the engine runs nice, but there's enough blow by where the compression is going past the rings and it comes out this breather and all kinds of smoke is in the engine bay area, and there were holes in the firewall and he was almost getting asphyxiated driving home. So we're going to check out the condition of the engine right now. Alright, to have consistent cranking speed from the starter motor, he's going to leave the battery charger on the battery so each cylinder gets an equal chance of cranking when we're turning the engine over. Right now we are disabling his ignition, so all this time that we're doing the testing and cranking it over, we're not even going to be energizing the coil. It's a good thing to do because if you have spark plug wires dangling down and some gas would come shooting out, you got a possibility of having a fire. If you have an electronic fuel injected car, you'd want to pull the fuse on the fuel pump and the ignition during the time of this type of test so that you wouldn't have any problem flooding your motor, having a spark and maybe burning your engine up. This is your typical compression tester. A lot of guys will just screw it in all as one like this, but it's easier to get down there depending what you got for exhaust manifolds or what if you got angle plug heads or stuff like that. Get it on here first, then everything's got O-rings on it, and then after you end up doing the test, then you just hit the Schrader valve and blow it down. This is a cheap little tool you can buy, and it really simplifies it. Instead of having to run back and forth inside your car to crank it, you're right in the engine area, and you can just hitch this button switch up to positive here. On a Chevrolet, you would have a cable here that goes all the way down to the starter down there. Then you gotta crawl underneath it and hook it up to the little studs on the solenoid. On Fords and this AMC, they have the solenoid right there, and you're just putting it on starter and positive, and she cranks over. We've decided to go 5 times on the rotations to get maximum compression. That's it. Your number 1 was bad. We could tell that by the spark plug that was really fouled. 60 is diddly squat.
Here's a look at the plugs as they came out, and number 1 was fouled up pretty good. We'll take some reads on the other cylinders. Now we got her on 3. We'll see what we get. Here's number 5.
Going for number 7.
160.
All right, we're on number 2. Going for number 4.
Number 6.
Okay, last cylinder, number 8, ready to go.
We're going to bleed this off at 175.
Notice how on the first time it rolls around, you're already getting your compression. Check it out.
Almost 180 that time.
You can see this, the variance between number 8 is 175. You got a 170 on number 8, number 5. Number 6 is good, but number 1 is 60. And there's another one that was 105. That's just too much of a variance, and it's time to tear the engine apart, and then as we get down to it, we'll find out what's wrong with number 1 and number 4. After this, we're going to squirt some oil on number 1 and then do another test on number 1. If compression does not increase, then we know that the rings are okay, and it would be something in the valves, because these engines were designed to run on leaded fuel. Could have problems with the valves. If compression really increases a lot, now we go up to 100, then you know the rings are bad. You don't want to lose the tube, so I always hang on to the tube while you're doing it. Kind of aiming around. Okay, checking with oil in the cylinder. Number 1. No increase.
This is number 4 with a bunch of oil in it. Went up some.
After the final compression test was all done, we came to the conclusion that number 1 probably has bad valves and bad rings. The number 4 cylinder had bad rings, because when he added oil to it, compression went up considerably. So he was planning on taking the engine apart anyway, and he was going to change everything anyway. But it was just a way to show you how to diagnose what you need to do. If the rings would have been okay, some guys would just take the heads off and just have a valve job done and slap them back on and be done with it. And back in the day, that was cool to have the back end up there. But now we're going to make this car where it's low. Because it's got a Chrysler and a Ford bolt pattern, you could put any late model, 17-inch or 18-inch weight on there if you want it lower and tucked inside.
You don't like them 14s?
Never liked 14s.
You know all the way down?
Yeah, let's see what it looks like. Is it sitting up higher?
I think it's the same. It just might have done that just to stiffen it up. Rubber baby buggy well first.